Steve.
Hey, what's up, brother?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So, what I wanted to do, I always let people kind of introduce themselves when we start these, in case there's anyone that might be watching that doesn't necessarily know who you are.
Sounds good.
So you can just go ahead.
So, Steve Mathias. I currently live in Oklahoma, and I run a jiu-jitsu and judo academy out here in Broken Arrow. And first degree jiu-jitsu black belt, third degree judo black belt, and that's pretty much it.
Now I know you're not originally from the area. What brought you out there?
Cost of living in New Jersey sucks.
Mm.
Um, the current state of New Jersey is not the greatest. Especially with COVID hitting so hard out there as well. Um, Hurricane Sandy, all that stuff was a big play in why we decided to uproot and just find a better place to live. Um, the the former team that I was with, their association headquarters is out here, so I was like, you know what, let me move out here, and I want to be close to the association. And then we went our separate ways. I opened up my academy going on 3 years ago, and man, it's been life changing, like completely life changing compared to New Jersey. New Jersey is, I tell people all the time, you couldn't pay me to go back after living out here.
Yeah, but I mean, I grew up in Broken Arrow. I went to Broken Arrow High School and all that. It's not. I would. How did you find this? You know, was it that your former team was in Tulsa or Broken Arrow?
Broken Arrow. So I used to be part of Triton Fight Center. I got my black
Hmm.
belt under Pete and my first degree under Pete, and we got to talking. And I came out here a few times, and he was just like, "Hey, what do you think about Oklahoma?" And I was like, "I don't know, man." And I mean, I came out. I kept coming out here. I came out here to train. Came out to visit. Um, and the last time, I think it was like the fourth, fifth time or something like that. I was like, you know what? We're gonna move. So we decided to uproot, and There was nothing out there. Like there's really, you have to be making 100K easily, both
Yeah.
partners, significant, both parts of the family, just to survive. Um, Starting house out there, $750,000. Out here, you can buy a couple for that.
Yeah, I mean, I lived on Oahu, so I mean, for 14 years, half of that was military, the other half wasn't. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I was familiar with that. But, growing up in Broken Arrow, I mean, there's lots of small towns. So it's just, I wondered how you found that one. So that kind of
Yeah,
explains what you were saying.
yeah. It was just to me, it was just like love at first sight. Like I fell in love with the city. To me, there was a lot. There's a lot to do out here. I still find stuff every now and then. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know the Rose District. I didn't know the Rose District existed until 2 years ago, and I was out here already. And people were like, there's a little downtown area. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, when I grew up in Broken Arrow, there was nothing in Broken Arrow. When I was in high school, there was nothing in Broken Arrow, really. There's a pool hall, and maybe a couple of. That was it. Rose District, there was nothing there. On Main Street, there was nothing on Main Street.
Oh, no way.
There was like the Central Middle School, which I think you see at the end of
Hmm.
Main Street. I think it's like an enrollment building now or something, but that was it. The rest is
That's
nothing. So
that's
it
crazy.
changed a lot. But and then you got with Carlos Machado, right?
Yeah. So I started talking. One of my old students in New Jersey. He from white to purple. I mean, he was my student probably for 5, 6 years. I don't even remember, but it was a while. And so I moved out here. He started running his jujitsu school out in New Jersey once I left, and he was like, "Hey, he's like, I think I'm gonna, since I don't have anybody out here, what do you think about Machado?" And I was like, "Dude, there's a great association, um, lots of affiliates. I know quite a few of the black belts, and I kept I kept talking to some of my friends, and my friends were just like, "Hey, I know you're not under anybody anymore. What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I get where you're going with this." So this, as we do research. Vet, we try to vet, different associations, see what's a good fit for our school. And man, I couldn't have landed at a great spot with the association. And got talking to a guy named Adam Carl. And Adam Carl is, man, this guy's a wealth of knowledge. He's like a guru when it comes to business and marketing. Um, just with just with being part of them for like 4 months, I went from 30 students to now we're triple digits right now. And that's just the marketing and the business aspect, and just changing the culture that I had in the academy. My attitude, us as black belts, we get a little too comfortable. We get a little too complacent, if you want to say, and just comfortable with what we're used to doing. And I changed some of my marketing, just the way I welcome people, just the way that we roll with certain people. A lot of people just come in and they're like, "Ooh, fresh meat," and slam. It's not back in the day where you can dojo storm and all that craziness. But yeah, that's how we landed with the Carlos Machado Association.
Now, people that aren't familiar with owning gyms, why why is it important to be affiliated, or is it? I mean, what's the plus and minus you think of, like when you're not versus when
Um,
you?
there's 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 pros and cons, and as I said before, it's very important that you vet the association that you're part of. Me, a lot of people know me. Um, I have no filter on my tongue when it comes to dealing with BS or politics. I have no room for it when it comes to politics. I just can't. Um, it is very important to be part of an association because one, it helps with validity. It helps with validation when it comes to ranks and such. In jiu-jitsu, you can only promote to a certain rank depending on what your degree of black belt is. For those that don't know that are watching, but usually it's around second degree or higher when you can promote to a black belt. And unless you have, written approval or your instructor's there, some may not even make it, to be there, but they sign off on it and you're good to go. Um, Two, the con to it is the bad part about it is that you have to answer to somebody. A lot of people who own academies, they don't want to answer to nobody, and that's how I used to be. I used to I used to be part of that, and I'm like, oh, I do my own thing, and then I got stuck at only having a couple brown belts, and I was like, man, I can't promote no black belts. So what do I do in this case? So when it comes to association, you can't think about yourself as the owner, and you can't think about your rank. It's got to be about your students and forward progression. Someone said that David Brogan from Philadelphia said that if you are just preserving, there's no progress. But if you're moving forward with progress, then evolution always happens. A lot of people get stuck on that mindset of, oh, it's about me. Oh man, when do I get my first degree? When do I get my second degree? Oh, I'm part of IBJJF. I could just slap that degree on, which yeah, you technically can, once you reach to a certain time and grade. But it's important for somebody to see that person promote you versus you just magically have another degree on your belt. Having an association behind you, a strong one behind you, is very important. The support, um, whether it's curriculum, whether it's leadership building, whether it's coaching, it could be all kinds of things.
Now you came out here because of Pete. How hard was it to walk away from that? Once you're
Um,
out.
I'm not gonna lie. Whatever happened between him and I, it sucks. We broke bread, and we walked away shaking hands, and it's just one of those. It sucked for me because um, when people ask me still to this day, I'm like, yeah, dude. I mean, he's the guy that wrapped the belt around my waist. I have the utmost respect for him. Um, we're both Marines, and it's one of those like, man, it was tough. Even though we went a year or two apart, I still look back at it. I still have some of my Triton stuff that I miss. And Casey's watching. Don't be mad at me. I'll be in there later. I'm trying to hurry up. One of our kids is wrestling at the WrestleMania out here in Broken Arrow High School.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, it was tough. It was really tough. Um, but my old school was 3 miles apart. We were 3 miles apart from each other, so we saw each other on a daily. I'd either see him riding his bike, or we see each other at the AGFs. And but yeah, to answer your question, it was tough. It,
was it just like a business thing, or was it just like a business thing? Is that why you had to split, or?
no, we just there was things between us that we had to uh, we just left it
Yeah.
there. And
Uh,
those
just
that are watching, if you join an association, there's going to be times where you have to leave, or you just have to make a decision for both of you to split ways.
uh, but yeah, when you move, I mean, I would assume that would be hard when you moved out to the location.
Yeah,
You know.
it was really tough. That was the killer for me. And um, I see everybody from Triton. The gym that I belong to, 10 Gym. I go to 10 Gym in the Broken Arrow. I see like half the guys there, and we still break bread and say hi to each other and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's jujitsu. It's a small world. We see each other everywhere, and we have nothing but respect for each other.
Yeah, I trained there for like the first few years when I moved back here, but I haven't really been training much. But it was too cold in the winter in that gym.
Oh, I don't know, man. If
It's
if you've been
freezing.
if you've been there within the past
I liked it when it was hot.
since I moved here, he's got some badass heaters.
Oh, yeah.
He's got radiant, the ones that are in Lowe's and Home Depot. He's got
Oh
those
yeah,
radiant heaters that you'll sweat within 5 minutes of rolling.
yeah. I mean, it was freezing before. But yeah, I trained there for like 3 years or so before I moved out to Kuwaita
Nice.
and bought a house. But so now you're in this big, large gym.
Yeah.
Like as a gym owner, when do you make the decision to do something like that to go from like a smaller location
It was
to
tough.
large?
That was a tough call for me, man. Me and my business partner, Josh, we've been good friends for a while, and even partnering up with somebody in a business is really tough. Um, but as they say, don't.
I can't hear you. I lost you for a second. Your sound's
Um,
cutting out a little bit.
so can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So me and my business partner, it took us a few weeks to like really talk about it, and we were just like, hey, do we make the move now, or should we wait another year? And it was getting to the point where it was getting unsafe on the mats because it was so packed. Um, we just had no room to move around classes. We split up classes so many times already. We had a fundamentals class, we had an advanced class, and then we broke up the kids class, and then COVID hit. COVID part 12 hit, and we just had a rush of kids from Epic charter schools. So anybody who does online schooling, they want to get their kids out of the house. So we started getting a huge pour of new kids, new adults, and it came to a decision after the 2.5 year, 3 year mark, where we were like, listen, man, we need this space. Parents couldn't sit anywhere. We have parents literally sitting in their cars. It was like a school drop off, like a regular school drop off. They were waiting in line to pick up their kids or drop off. And my advice to anybody, if you're going to do that, um, think of, exhaust all your options, and that's what we did. We exhausted every single one of our options. Do we knock down the wall? Do we see if any of the tenants want to leave so we can take that lease over? And we didn't have any of those options, unfortunately, because all of um, our co tenants, they were there for like 15, 20 years, so they weren't going anywhere. So we started looking for industrial warehouse spaces, um, which can be a con because you lose that visibility. Where I was on 91st and Elm, you have that four-way intersection where that's main traffic. So now we're on Lynn Lane on 804 South 8th Street, right across the street from Canine Manners and more. And we couldn't have picked a perfect location. It's about 7,000 to 7,500 square feet. 7,000 to 7,500 square feet. And right now we're dealing with, we fixed that issue that we just had, and now we're just dealing with heating it up and regulating the heat because, man, it's a pain in the butt. But now we have enough space. We just got extra mats, and we're also doing the paint in there now. And then the lounge build out is going to be a little process.
So really, as a gym owner, it just comes down to we don't have enough space anymore, or were there
Yeah,
other things in that
uh,
decision?
safety is huge. To me, safety is paramount. Especially, I teach judo, and when you're slamming people and you're getting close to that wall, or you're getting close to the edge where the parents are sitting, and we have benches. So if you slam somebody into one of those church pews, you're out. You're going out. So, and then we have the way that the old place was built. There's it's like this one thin layer of glass, and that always freaked me out. And it was like, do we put more money into safetying the place, or do we just make the move to where we don't have to do much? In this place, all we have to do, it was literally turnkey. We power washed it, got the oil off the floor and chemicals off the floor. It was a former steel fabrication shop, and it was turnkey. Like we didn't have to do much.
Now, when you're talking about heating, I'm kind of like trying to help people who maybe don't know what it's like to own a gym that are listening to this. Like, for example, your smaller space. How much does it go up to like heat a space that size to what you have now? You think?
Oh man, we were just talking about that, me and Josh today. That's a scary thing, but we went from having to run our heaters for about maybe half hour to heat up 3,000 square feet. That's what we were at. And now it takes about an entire day to run two large industrial AC units that it's only designed for maybe 4,000 to 5,000 square feet. So now you have these units doing double the work in single digit weather, almost single digit weather. So we almost had the other day because we were at 11, 12 degrees the other day, and it didn't even work. If we ran a temperature gun and the ceiling was at 78 degrees, and where we were practicing was close to 51 degrees. So yeah, you need to really think about it when it comes to getting a large box like that with concrete slab walls that just suck the heat out of that place.
So how much do you think it increases the bill?
Um, Before we were about maybe 120 to 130 a month. That was the gas bill. Right now, man, we've only been in it a week, and I am terrified. I would say the gas usage, we saw what the gas usage was, and I'm terrified. I would probably say it's already at $300, $400, and that's not even in the month yet. So
Yeah, I was
I'm terrified.
wondering like a size of Triton. He used to not heat it, and
Yeah,
I always wondered if he heated it every day, how much would it
no.
cost? Thinking in my
Uh,
head.
so to heat a normal box like that, you're talking about $400 or $500. You know, so what I'm doing now is I heat it up. I make sure it's heated and toasty in there an hour prior, so that way I don't have to run that. I don't have to run that heater and make it do all that overtime work.
There's no way you can insulate a spot like that.
You can. I was talking to some people, but man, you're talking about $5,000 to $7,000 just to, and that's just like one little section. You know, they would have to insulate the ceiling because so that way the heat doesn't escape. But man, then I can't hang my ropes. Then I can't do a lot of stuff. It eliminates a lot, and it also takes our sunlight away because we have sunlights. We have about 6 to 8 sunlights. And that was another thing. The lighting was huge. We had about 4 to 5 different ballasts in the old one. This one we have about 3 LED ballasts, and it is super bright and way cheaper. So we lost some bills but we added on the gas.
Hmm. So, like, I know you haven't been in there very long, so it'd be hard to even ask you what your impressions are so far because you really have only had a few days.
Um,
You
I
know, as
mean, I mean, so far, I'm thrilled with it. The parents love it. Some of them are like, "Don't paint the walls. We like the grungy look." And I'm like, "No." I said, I'm all about it's got to be presentable. But for the most part, the parents love it, which that's what really matters to me. The kids enjoy the space; they love it. The only issue that kind of drives me nuts is that the echoing is very, very bad. So we kind of have to figure something out to like damper that sound, so that way it's not echoing so much.
but I mean, you're a gym owner. You've been in other gyms before.
Hmm.
Maybe why do you think some would maybe not do well while others can expand, like you've done, Pete's done, so on and so forth.
Um, I honestly, I'm gonna say this so that way everybody understands, and I'm not kissing his ass. Um, I cannot compare to Pete right. Not probably for about 4 years. I probably won't be able to compete.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he's got about 400 plus students. Um, I'm at we're just like at 100. Um, so one thing you got to take in mind if you do decide to make the jump, you got to think about increasing your prices, which is very scary because if it's old members and you're raising their prices, they may jump ship. But then you have your loyal crowd where they're like, I don't mind the increase because of all the amenities that we're adding. So one thing that Pete used to push upon us is, hey, listen, it's about your worth as an instructor and what you can afford your clients, and it's not all about um, uh, I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but you have to run a business. At the end of the day, it's a business. It's not a mom and pop shop, especially once you make a big jump like this. And it's all about business, but the training has to be conducted accordingly. Um, and it's just, if you do a jump like this, my advice to you guys is think about longevity. Think about if you want to move again, and if you do, think about it really, really hard. With this one, I we uh we have a 3 year, and we're going to purchase. That's the goal. That's what we're doing. That's actually the contract. So the goal is this is going to be ours in 3 years, and we plan to build it out. There's going to be a weight section. We're going to have a sauna. We're going to have the extended bathrooms, the locker rooms. We're going to have amenities for the first responders if they come in. All the police officers that come in, they have a gun lock. They can do whatever they need to do. Showers, the whole 9 yards. But again, this is a 3 to 5 year plan that you need to have once you're in it. Once you're in it, if you don't have that plan, you will fail. But if you have the drive, um, financially stable, which is number one, um, because if something busts, a pipe, God, thank God that was nothing crazy, nothing too crazy. If you have one of the units that break, you're talking about $5,000, $10,000 right there. You have to have a backup plan. Your insurance policy has to be through the roof, so that way personal property is not damaged if somebody steals something or breaks into your place. You have to think about location. Location is huge. Demographic is the most important. Before I do anything or open up a school, I'll study traffic routes. I'll study the main routes. It's pretty much like if I'm doing a personal protection for somebody. I want to do my advanced party. I want to make sure that all the routes are either jam packed when it comes to getting a school. I want the most visibility out there, and I want to see what the market's like, and I want to see how many schools are near me. Like right now, um, right here in the 918, how many schools you can throw. You can throw a rock and hit about 10 schools. You got Actually, no, Thin Blue Line is no longer. You got Triton. Triton is the biggest one out here. You got in Claremore. You have Claremore, Owasso. You have Rogue Martial Arts. You have PJAC, Paycheck Jiu Jitsu. You have Havoc. You got Sheepdog Response. You have Omar. You have balance bodies. I mean, you have pretty much a lot of Triton. You got Brothers for Nogi. You have the Factory. You have all these big names. Ryan, Todd Ryan. That's a beautiful place. That's one of my favorite places. Um, but yeah, you have to see what's out there. One, there's no written rule, but you never. Me personally, as a black belt and as a jiu-jitsu guy and judo guy, you never really want to step in somebody's territory, especially opening up right down the street, because it's not going to do you any good. One, that person's already established. You're the new guy in town, so nobody knows who the hell you are. Um, I'm lucky that I have a big following in judo, and I was part of the the major association out here currently, which is Triton, and I had a big footprint because of that, and I was grateful for that. But then I switched over to Carlos Machado, and I didn't realize how big, they were, and so things like that help you. But being in a big box like this, I have a lot of options. I can do different build outs. I can pretty much custom tailor to my audience.
Yeah, and in some ways, I think judo is more recognizable as a name
Oh
still
yeah,
than jujitsu. You know,
absolutely.
if it says judo on the sign,
Hmm.
I think it's more recognizable to people than, especially Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I don't know why people still use it because to people, I think your average person's like, what is that?
Yeah.
Most people
Yep.
know what judo is. I knew what judo was when I was single digit age. Everyone knows, you know what I mean? Everyone knows what, but I think your average person today, if they saw, what's the difference between jiu-jitsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu? If they see that on the sign, they would think, what is that?
Yeah, I was always confused going into business as an owner. And I'm like, man, why does that person have jujitsu? You know,
Yeah.
at least put BJJ, because if you put BJJ, they'll look it up and they'll be like, oh, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Oh,
But a lot of places and some short spell it. They'll put JU and then Jitsu, and you're like, isn't that the karate type? Like, isn't that the one that you
oh,
strike?
right.
So, but yeah,
Yeah, I think judo is something that's more universal as far as, people's understanding of the martial art. People know, okay, I know what judo is,
yep.
or I've heard of it. Jiu-jitsu, I still think, oh, your average person doesn't have any clue, hasn't heard of that, you
Mm.
know, unless they're, the average. But most people have heard of judo, even if they've never stepped foot in
Hey,
the
Julio.
gym, I think,
Hey, what's up,
you
Julio
know.
from Monkey Tape? He's one of my biggest supporters and good friends.
Yeah, he sponsors a lot of guys. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And now, even though you said you didn't open up close to Pete, but now you got a big location not that far from him. So it's kind of like maybe in some ways you might become competitors one day.
Yeah, and that's like a lot of people. They have a lot of common misconceptions. Is, oh, now that you're big, you're going to compete. I don't want to compete with anybody.
Now, I'm saying
Um,
down the road if you have students and so
oh
on,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's always bound to
Yeah.
happen. That's always bound to happen. But my philosophy when I open up an academy or business is I don't care what that guy's doing. I don't care what Joe Schmo is doing. I want to be known for the mixture that we give, which is judo and jiu-jitsu. That hybrid to me is very important because they're brother and sister art. And what a lot of people fail to realize is that it's really you're really no good without the other. It's a great combination to have. Um, when people say, I train MMA. Okay, you train MMA. I said, but what are you training in MMA? Right? MMA is not a style. It's multiple styles combined, and that's what I feel like when you're doing judo and jiu-jitsu. Man, I feel like it's a very complete. Now, when it comes to striking, you add some Muay Thai into there, man, or American kickboxing. Yeah, it's pretty deadly.
So is that what you're going to focus on with your gym? Is judo and jiu-jitsu primarily?
Yeah, so I'm working with Jimmy Canales. Jimmy Canales is a good friend of mine, also a former Marine. Um, he's going to be coming out here, and hopefully, I get to test out for crew. and get to see where I'm at. I'm a bit rusty. I have about 8 years Muay Thai, but never really pursued it. But love it. I always have a very big passion for it. And I also have a friend, John Crow, who trained me in American kickboxing. And I went through some of the belts, and I fell in love with it. Like for the past 3 years, I fell in love with it. I loved it, and I think I may open that up as well. Um, for Muay Thai, I don't know if I want to open it up in that realm because you got Forza out here. Forza is such a dominant school when it comes to that. Leo
Mhm.
has such a good program, and I tell people all the time when they walk in my door, hey, a lot of people are like, "Are they there?" Okay, I thought I
Yeah,
lost you.
yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of people come in and they're like, "Hey, do you do any striking?" And I'm like, "We do Krav Maga." I said, "But I would highly suggest if you're gonna do striking, go down the street to Leo's, man. Leo has he puts out some good fighters.
Mhm.
He's just great."
So you're not going to kind of look toward the MMA crowd much.
No, I do have some. I do have about 4 or 5 guys who are. That's all they want to do. They want to do jujitsu, judo, and MMA. They want to get into the MMA scene, and we have a couple guys that are very into it. But I'm not. I don't want to go that route.
Yeah.
But if they want to fight, I will be there to coach them and corner them. But that's not what I want to be known for.
Now you're pretty close to the high school. I would say like your school is, I would say closest to the high school. Don't you
Yep,
think?
yep. So
Yeah.
that's another surprise that I guess I'll let it out now. So just registered, just got my background check done again because I just did one for USA Judo, United States Judo Association, U.S. Judo Federation, for IBJJF, and now I got to do it for USA Wrestling. So we will be a USA Wrestling school, and that is the route that we want to hit. I didn't want to say nothing yet, but we already have about 36 kids that will be wrestling for us next year.
Yeah, I used to tell guys at Triton, I was like, Broken Arrow's got the number one wrestling team in the state.
Oh yeah,
There's not a single school anywhere near the high school.
yep.
Why?
So
I used to always ask, why is
yep,
no one open a school by the high school?
yep. So we've been talking to a lot of the coaches. Some of I'm actually here watching my friends from Kuwaita, and they're like, I'm sending my kids there, and I'm like, don't worry about it. I said we're a little cheaper because we're starting new. Yeah, you're right, Showboat wrestling for sure. So I definitely we're gonna open that realm up, and I've wrestled middle school, high school, elementary for Jackson, New Jersey, and Jackson, New Jersey. If you look them up, number one. Rutgers University, Lock Haven out of Pennsylvania, and we we're ready to open up, and I can't wait for that. That was going to be There's going to be some eyes opening up. There's going to be some dominant kids coming out
Yeah.
of the academy, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I used to tell guys at Trenton, I was like, these, I went and watched some of their duels and whatnot, because I went to Broken Arrow, and it's like, man, they got some real talented kids up there. I'm sure they bring some of their friends, and their friends will bring people. It's like, why no one up there? Why is no one up by the high school? It
Uh-huh.
just never made sense to me, you know.
Well,
But it just
like
seemed like a blind type of deal.
yeah, I'm stoked, man, because some of the requirements for USA Wrestling, you have to have a strength and conditioning coach. Um, Obviously, you have to have volunteers. You have to have a head coach. Um, and the mat space is not going to be an issue. We're adding 30 more feet additional to what we have. So we went from 3,000 square feet of mats to we're going to add 30 more feet to that. We got the ropes that we're going to be hanging on the 20-foot ceilings. And then all the workout area. So our kids are going to be well prepped for the next season.
Now, how does that work when you have a judo? You have your gym, judo, jujitsu, and then you have the USA wrestling aspect. How does that work intertwine into the
Well,
gym?
the good thing is that every single one of those they can relate. The only thing that really that is very, it can be a deterrent is wrestling and jujitsu. Jujitsu, we're comfortable on our back. In wrestling, you don't want to be put on your back. So when it comes to the curriculum and stuff like that, I'm going to have to tweak it to those that are wrestling and doing jujitsu, but it won't be an issue as far as that. But again, it's up to my coaching staff and it's up to myself to make sure we're reinforcing it and there to take care of it. But we have solid schedules. The schedule program is the most important. If they're slamming into each other, it's gonna be tough. So you got to pick different days where they're doing judo, jujitsu. Going from jujitsu and then going to wrestling is gonna be tough because they're gonna forget everything they just learned in jujitsu, and now they got judo they're learning or wrestling that they're learning. So yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I mean, I find it because I mean, like if you go to a MMA gym or martial arts gym, whatever you want to call it, they have their wrestling class, striking class. Is that how you're going to do it, or are you going to have more like a season focused
No,
USA wrestling?
so we're gonna have a on season, and then we're gonna do a small off season camp, as well as we'll do a summer camp, we'll do a spring camp, just to get them, just to bust the rust and continue them, with fluid movements instead of having them stop, take a break, go on vacation, forget about wrestling. Wrestlers got to watch that neck with the shots. True. Um, so it's one of those you have to find that balance. You don't want to overdo it and run them to the ground, and then season comes and they don't perform. So the goal with me is I want them strong. I want their cardio up before the season's up, and once the season hits, these guys are ready. They're ready to just train. I don't have to worry about running them ragged. We'll still do the cardio, but it won't be as strenuous as it would be in the summer or spring.
Now, how do you balance that if they're wrestling at their high school or wherever they're going to school at?
Well, wrestling is different. At the high school level, it's going to be different. You're going to have to turn it up. The intensity level it gets pushed because these guys are getting ready for college. They're getting ready for scholarships. They're getting ready for the scouts. So it's one of those like the guys that come in, they're going to have to know that, hey, listen, coach ain't playing. This is a whole different ball game. So you're going from elementary, middle, and now you're going to the big leagues. Even some of the middle schoolers, like these kids are coming out and dominating some of these high schoolers, especially the female community right now in wrestling is booming right now. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's really not up to us. It's up to the parents to help support it and let those kids understand, like, hey, listen, you're going from right here to the big leagues. You either want to go to college and do it. Some enter the military and they go all wrestling team. If you go all Marine wrestling, all Air Force wrestling, all West Point, which is they got some of the top guys in there too. They got a good program. And the good thing about judo is I have a lot of networking through there, so I know all those coaches and stuff like that, so it helps. Um, and that's when I start bringing in clinicians. I start bringing in, some heavy hitters that will teach some good wrestling. And it helps me too as a coach because I have to develop myself as a better coach. And that's one of the things you have to understand as an owner. Like, hey, man, the sacrifices don't end here. They do not stop. So it's always continue education. Um, that's pretty much it, man.
No, but I mean, if you have so and so's at your gym and he's wrestling at Broken Arrow,
Uh-huh.
how do you balance your program with what he's already doing?
So what I'll try to do is, if even if I have to like attend a practice over at BA or wherever, I'll see what they're doing and I'll try to help them out because I don't want to put them in a situation where now they have two coaches. What coach are they going to listen to? Right? I don't
Right.
want that. If they're wrestling for a school and me, I'm going to be a wrestling club. That's pretty much what it is, or an academy. I would rather them listen to their coach, their 4-year coach, rather than a seasonal coach. Right now, if they get along with me better, they adhere to my coaching better, other than their primary, then that's a different story. So again, it's one of those like I have to see, I have to gauge it.
Yeah, I always wondered that because at the end of the day, they got to go back and,
Correct.
wrestle for the high school or
And
whatever.
me as and I hate to say it, part-time coach, you want to say it. I don't want to mess up what they're dealing with and what they're learning. So what I want to do to them is I just want to continue with the repetition of what they're doing. Or, hey, coach, what are you going on over there? I want to make sure that over here, when they're doing it off season, I want to make sure that they're good. And
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
And I think learning judo with the wrestling is a huge
Oh
advantage.
my God, yes. I
I
saw some
trained
of it
in
today so
Japan,
far.
I trained in Japan. I wrestled, they had a couple Japanese guys that taught guys like 3 nights a week for free. They just wanted to use the mats. They worked on the base. One of them was like, I think he was maybe the top 5 in Greco-Roman in all of
Uh-huh.
Japan. And there was a guy there, Mr. Komatsu, who was also like really high level judo guy. So
Uh-huh.
he could do some stuff that other guys couldn't do because of his judo knowledge that he could mix with his wrestling that was really effective. So I think it's a huge advantage for wrestlers to learn judo because there's a
Oh
lot of
my
things
God,
that
yeah. You have you have the leg sweeps.
yeah,
You have
yeah,
koshiguruma, head and shoulder throw. You have regular ogoshi or hip throw.
yeah.
So there's so much that you can do, and we use pins in judo, so it's natural.
It's a huge advantage. Well, I know you have to get going to this tournament, but as we're kind of winding down the interview, if you wanted to tell people where maybe they could look for your gym, or maybe look into some of the things you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. We have training every day for adults, Monday through Friday from 7 p.m. to 8:45. Our classes are an hour and a half. For kids, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 5:45 to 6:45. You can find us on cohesionbjj.com. Number to call, 918-944-9415. You can just Google Cohesion BJJ. I'm on Facebook as Judo Steve. I'm on Instagram as Judo Steve. It's been a nickname I've been given pretty much everywhere in the judo community and jiu-jitsu. And yeah, I mean, everybody's welcome to come in. We just leave your egos at the door, just like every other academy. Have a good time. Come train whenever you want.
Yeah, and for anybody who's not living in this area, if you want to follow him, follow Judo Steve profile there. And yeah, man, I'd love to have you back on once you've had like some experience in the gym. Maybe we
Yeah, for
could
sure,
talk.
man. Just let me know, and I am down, man. I'm down, and this time I'll try to bring my partner on because I'm sure he's got some stuff on his mind. Because man, without him, this journey would be beyond stressful. He helps alleviate the stress. He's a merchant mariner, so while he's away, I deal with everything. When he's home, he does all the books for me. He's like my kneecap breaker. Like if you need to pay up, that's the guy. Um, but man, Todd, thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I couldn't do this stuff if people didn't want to do it with me. So I appreciate you taking the time. I know you got to get to the tournament and all.
Hell yeah, man! Come on by whenever you can, man. Come say hi.
All right. Take care. It was great talking to you.
All right, brother. Peace out.
Peace out.